Hi there, brave soul. It's me, Teresa. Something has been going on for the past few months, and I didn't really know how to deal with it. So I had to get more information before I shared it with you. And I'm going to start doing something that I'm going to call something like Teresa Talks or something like that. So I can share with all of you the information that I have gathered about this situation with the other world and the Sabe. So back to my little issue. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but sometimes right before you go to sleep, you close your eyes and you get like floaters in your eyes. You start seeing things moving around. Well, I noticed, really, I guess I would have to say closer to the summer, I noticed that these things were getting more and more profound, and it was keeping me awake. I couldn't go to sleep because I kept seeing all these things. And there is something that happens to you during or right before you go to sleep. There is something that's called like I forget the name of it. I'm sorry. Something about shadow people. So anyhow, one night, me and my my brave self kind of put stuff together, and I thought, geez, I wonder if this could be like Sabe or something. Maybe I'm going to open my eyes and just see what in the world's going on. So I opened up my eyes and I saw all of these black entities flying around in my bedroom. Well, I thought, well, I've got to be seeing things. Rub my eyes, I got to be seeing things. What in the world? Am I like hallucinating? I thought, oh, it's that thing before you go to sleep. And I laid there and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not going to sleep. And like an hour and a half later, I'm still awake and I'm still seeing these things move around. One of them, I could see its eyes glowing, like, and it almost reminded me of being a little reptilian, but it wasn't like, maybe kind of like a little bit of a cat eye look to it. Bright green, and they're, like I said, they were kind of glowing, but they were detail glowing. It wasn't like a green orb floating around in my room. And these eyes were attached to this very large shadow. So I had looked on the internet trying to piece together something about maybe elemental beings, and that didn't fit. Everything I could think of, I kept going through trying to figure it out. Now, this big guy, he was what I would figure too big to manifest in my room, because I mean, he was huge. He was every bit as big as my antique wardrobe is. I mean, huge. I just figured, if he manifests in this room, he's going to squish us both. So fortunately, he didn't do that, but he seemed very aggressive towards the other shadows that were in there. So I prayed any beings to the light, who are in the light, who are being watched over under God and are good beings. I'm not upset with you, but if you are not of the light, you get out of my house and get out of here now. And you are never to step foot in my house again. And I prayed really, really hard. Okay. And one time, one of the things that I saw, I want to share all of this with you. One of the things that I saw, and I still once in a while do see it, but I saw like a semicircle right above my bed, and I thought, oh, it must just be like the light coming in through the window. But then I noticed that it looked like there were two beings in that circle that were looking down at these shadow figures, and like they were having some conversations with them, and the two beings were not shadow figures at all. They had like blonde hair, not like my mom's a little too yellow today, but they had kind of like light blonde hair. It was, a little wave to it, and they were wearing like light blue, almost look like uniforms. They were slim, but they weren't like skinny or anything like that. And I couldn't, of course, tell how high, but it looked like they were peering down into this semicircle at me and these other beings. So as I'm laying there, I'm watching what's going on. And it was just really odd. Everything seemed to kind of like settle down. But before that, it almost seemed like they were arguing with each other, which I couldn't understand. But everything seemed to kind of settle down some once those beings showed up. So then another night, as I was lying there, this is one that really, really scared me. I'm going to be honest, it really did. I was laying in bed, and these shadow beings were agitated. I mean, they were all over the place. And there were 2 or 3 of them, I couldn't tell because they were just going so fast, who were dive bombing at me. I mean, like they were trying to break through, I guess, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and I'll explain that in a minute, but it looked like they were trying to break through like a dimensional veil, we'll just use that, to get at me. I mean, and it seemed very aggressive and very ugly, you know, like they were bluff charging me. There we go. Like they were bluff charging me. So that really concerned me. So again, I prayed very, very hard, and I prayed for protection. And I pray maybe a little different than other people do. I pray as a meditation. So I try to calm everything down in my ADHD. And I allow my mind to go to the other realm, to heaven. And I go in and I speak with Jesus and with God and just talk about everything, right? So I did that and explained everything that was going on and how I was just very concerned about what was happening, because at that point also, one of the ones that was, you know, during the time when they were like bombing at me, bluff charging me, you all have seen the little face that I captured on my cabinet door in my bathroom, the little guy who has rectangular eyes. I had seen his shadow in here too. I think he's the small little one. He is cute as a minute, and I have no fear of him whatsoever. And I'm going to tell you something, when these beings were doing that, I could see him like jump into my bed right beside me, like he was seeking comfort from me. It was weird. I mean, it was out there. It gives me chills now just thinking about it. So I did a bunch of praying, and the next night I looked up, because I'm waiting on it, right? Because it was an every night occurrence. Some nights I just said, I gotta go to sleep. I don't care about you. You do whatever you're gonna do. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I gotta go to sleep. So, right after I had that big talk with them and had prayed hard, that next night, when I looked up in my bedroom, there were like 2 giant protectors in my room. I mean, again, chills. One was on each side of the room, and they reminded me of how, like, you see photos sometimes of the thinking man. It was like that. They were on each side of my room, like they were protecting me. I thought, Jiminy Crickets, I gotta get a handle on this. What in the world is it? Because I couldn't find anything that really described them on the internet. So is it just so happens I have this wonderful subscriber. I don't know. I haven't talked to him about calling his name out, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm just going to tell you, I have an amazing subscriber. And when I get through his book, I'm going to share with you all what all I have learned, because he is brilliant. And he's probably blushing right now, but he has every right to be, because he really is brilliant. And he is onto something very important. So he had... he had been the one who had said, to make sure that I cleanse the room and to pray and do candles and all that. And I bought some rose incense and cleansed my whole house, and it worked. I mean, it really worked. So then I saw yesterday on the Facts by HowToHunt.com, Steve Ishtal, he read, there's a gentleman who is translating journals that were written by a Mr. Ash, and these journals are all about the Sabe and relationships with them and how to treat them and how they want to be referred to, and just, amazing information about the Sabe, stuff you just can't get anyplace else. So he was talking about being adopted by the Sabe. Oh my gosh. I just kind of had one of those moments. Bing. That's exactly what it is. It is the Sabe, the big guy with eyes. It's funny because one night I thought him. I startled him. It was funny because I've been seeing him flying around, been seeing his eyes, and he would kind of look at me sometimes and not look at me. And I went like this. I pointed to him and I went, "I see you." And when I did that, he recoiled. It was like, what in the world? What do you mean you can see me? I said, yeah. I shook my head. Yes. I said, "I see you." And he just kind of I can't say stood there. He wasn't standing there, but he was just sort of flabbergasted that I was able to see him. Now, from what I have learned, I know that the Sabe vibrate on a very, very high frequency. And that vibration is why we can't see them. And I will get into more of that stuff in a Teresa Talks video. But I am sure that I have been adopted by the Sabe. And I'm so glad for that. I mean, I really am, because for me, it's a wonderful thing, because you have to understand, my dad grew up in those mountains. They never bothered his family. Never. Not one single time did they ever bother him. And I don't know. It's like I can see things in the Sabe that remind me even of my dad's family, some behaviors and stuff. So, and growing up around them, I had to translate what they were saying often, almost always, to my friends when I was young, because they had such a heavy, thick accent. People couldn't understand what they were saying. So I was always the interpreter. But my dad's family were just, amazing, kind, loving, just awesome people. And I loved going over there. And I was over there every other Sunday. And my aunts would always take me walking. We would go pick strawberries. We would just go walking. Or if my dad wanted to go fishing, I was his fishing buddy. I would never put that worm on the hook. And he had to get the fish off if I caught something. But I was tag along. I would go with him all the time. It didn't matter where he would go. I would go with him. And so they saw me over there. From the time I was a little girl, they have seen me. And I always felt like there was something in that forest. And I'm going to tell you, when I was little, I thought it was little people. When I was younger, I thought it was like little people, little fairies. I mean, I didn't understand like what they were or what they could be, but I just had that feeling like there was something out there, and if I looked fast enough, I'd be able to see it. And of course I never was. And even as I got older, there were times when I would go into the forest and I would, I'd go hiking with my dad or see my grandparents or whatever before they died. But when I would go over there, sometimes I would feel it and sometimes I wouldn't. So there's more to that story, though. There is a lot more to that story. But like I said, I always felt like there was something very special in that forest. And I guess it must have been, it's not just the Sabe, though, because there are fae there. There are dwarves there. I have photographs of all this stuff. And the whole reason why I started this is to share this information with everybody because, I mean, I can see it in my photos. Photos tell a story. And if you're really, really dissecting those photos, you can see a lot that's going on. So I'm not going to make this any longer. My beautiful, brave souls, I am so glad that you are here. And don't worry about me. I know that a lot of people get concerned because they think that these could be demons. I don't know that I know now that there are no demons in my house or in my room. I mean, I know that for sure, 100%, because I trust in God. And I know that when I ask him for something like this, he's going to do that for me. So, like I said, I know there's no demons. It's most likely just the Sabe. I've been adopted and the big guy was here to watch me, which I think is really, really cool. And it makes you think, I've had some times in my life when I was young where I did some boneheaded stuff. And I mean, it's a wonder I survived. I don't know how I survived. I was walking along a cinder block wall when I was 7 years old. This is I'm telling you, I would not lie to you, and this is a crazy story. I was walking along. There's a 10-foot drop down to the right. It's where my mom would put all of her clippings from her rose bushes, and my dad, there was like old boards with nails in it, and there were spiders and snakes down there, and I hated spiders. But I was walking along it one day, and guess who lost their balance? I did. I fell 10 feet down to the bottom. Now, in all fairness, it was probably cushioned a little bit from all the clippings and stuff. I had on rubber flip-flops, and I climbed up that cinder block wall in rubber flip-flops and ran inside the house. I had thorns all over me, but not one scratch on me whatsoever. I mean, it's weird, right? And how do you, at 7 years old, climb up a 10-foot cinder block wall wearing rubber flip-flops? I was motivated. That's true. I was motivated. But sometimes I have to think, I've got a lot more stories like that. And sometimes I have to think, I always thought that, somebody was looking out for me. And I always assumed that it was God or Jesus, but if it was the Sabe, then you know what? Maybe they were sent to help me. God's little foal. Okay, I love you guys, and I will talk with you soon. Bye.